Capitol Hoops. Today we are at Bullis with head coach Bruce Kelley. Coach, we appreciate you letting us in here. Look forward to getting to know you a little bit better on camera. And thanks for having us in.
Mark, you are always welcome at the Big B.
All right, let's get a little background on yourself to start. We'll end this conversation with kind of current day Bullis, your roster, which practice is underway, and I know the season is right around the corner. But start us off with a little bit of background on yourself.
About me?
About
sure. Last 14 years here at Bullis came after Michael Hibbs, who had a very successful run previous to me for about the same time period, about 13 years. Previous to that, I was up at St. John's Prospect Hall in Frederick. Followed Stu Vetter and some of the dynasty that they had, and then there was a little falling out, and so I was up there for about six years.
Serving as the head coach?
As the head coach at Prospect Hall. It was a fascinating time. Just a program which was a national champion, then also you didn't have one player who played a varsity minute the year before. It was almost like starting the school over again. And the kids there were fantastic. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Talk to me a little bit more about
Sure.
that. So Veteran them, they had established, a serious
champions.
program. They
National
were at Parker
champions.
Prep prior to that.
National Players of the Year. They were for a while there. You turn on a game, and there's going to be a good chance there's a Prospect Hall kid playing in that game.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a major falling out. Kevin Sutton, who's a well-known man in this area, then takes his players, all the remaining players, down to Montrose Christian.
Yeah.
Right. And a very good team there. And the leftover kids, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any weights. We didn't have basketballs. We didn't have uniforms. We didn't have a thing. Matter of fact, the people from the Anaconda Sports, The Rock, came through, and they were just starting their company at that time. So it would have been 1999, I think it would have been. And so they were just starting the company. They'd come up to our library in Frederick and say, look, we know you've got nothing. Take these basketballs, take the ball rack, and we know you'll do some business as we go. And so for a while there, that's what we had to live off of. We had to live off of their kind deeds and giving us basketballs. And we bought our uniforms to them because we didn't have those, didn't have weights, so we had people donating weights. It was really an experience starting from the ground floor. It was fascinating.
And what about getting a roster?
Yeah, so we had there were 3 or 4 boys who were on the JV at St. John's Prospect Hall and stayed over, and then we had a couple of guys who came to school. All right, as 9th graders, one of his mother was an administrator at Hood, so he was going to come regardless. Another one was a local Frederick kid. And that first year, Mark, we had a schedule, and everybody wanted to play us because they had the name, but we weren't in the league. So it was not uncommon for us to send about 10 boys to a JV game, and me follow up with a bus or van with 4 boys. And then the JV kids would finish their game, listen to coach talk, change uniforms, come up and join the other 4 or 5 who were just shooting around. We had one player, a kid named Adama Diggs, who was a tremendous player for me up there, tremendous player. So we played a game, I think it was at St. Mary's, and he scored like 27 points in the JV game, went downstairs, turned around, came back up, scored 29 in the varsity game. So my man walked out of there scoring 56 points in a day, right? That's a pretty good day. It was a good day. Yeah. So it was those sort of life experience that you just couldn't do here at Bullis, right? You just couldn't do because you had the rules and prohibited that. But that was we were like a first year school. It was just a lot of
And what was the trajectory like after that first initial year?
Oh, the good news is Prospect Hall had a name,
Yeah.
right? And those kids who stayed had a serious work ethic, because you can say whatever you want, whether you believe in the 20-year-round school system with basketball, like this Stu, what he would do, but those kids got better and they loved ball. And so we had kids who really cared and got better, and then we attracted some others, and so we used our connections and still played in tournaments. We used to come down to the Bullis tournament all the time. I think Spire got the job because the team would come down and play well. Yeah. And so we ended up being, a good Mid-Atlantic team. Right? So we would play all the ISC teams and do okay. So we turned it. We weren't a national program by any stretch, but we were a well-respected, good Mid-Atlantic team. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So prior to Prospect Hall.
Prior to Prospect Hall, I was an assistant coach at American University with Chris Nockey, the famed voice of the Maryland Terrapins from 1990 to 97. And so AU played in the Colonial Athletic Conference at that time with James Madison and Richmond and Virginia Commonwealth there were some really good teams. Old Dominion was in the CAA at that time. George Mason was in the CAA at that time. Paul Westhead. So we were the small private school in a large Virginia public league. So it was rough, but it was great. I got to travel the country, see all sorts of high school programs play, see coaches kind of go to practice. Now you see players, but get a chance to see coaches coach and see good coaches coach and kind of steal what they were doing to kind of formulate my own ideas when I wanted to be a head coach. And on one of those trips, not to get sidebarred here, we went up to Germantown Academy. And this would have been, my son Brian was just born, so he might have been a year, 2 years old. And I'm visiting with the coach from Germantown Academy, very well respected man up there, a guy named Jim Finnerty. And we're talking, and all of a sudden he says, Coach, can we walk to the other side of campus? I've got to see my son. So we walk across the other side. His son's like a little kindergartner at the time, and he brings out $1 out of his wallet. Hey, Jimmy, here's $1 for ice cream afterwards. And we walk back, and I'm thinking, all right, this is what I want there. That's the life I want. And I had the run of being a college coach. And then fortunately after that, the high school positions came available. And my services were no longer needed at American U, so I had to make a life choice. And here we are. And my son Brian ended up playing for me, so it was pretty cool.
Came full circle.
Yeah.
That was your only stop as a collegiate coach?
Yes, sir. One stop and done. So I'm lucky as can be. I was a college coach, high school coach, and never had to leave Washington, D.C. So,
talk to me about the responsibilities of being a Division I assistant coach. I know the recruiting aspect. I mean, I've talked to a lot of coaches throughout this series, and many of them have had stops on the collegiate level. Some liked them, some didn't. But kind of give me your take, especially on the recruiting angle.
No problem. It was so much fun because the guy I worked for, Chris Naki, is a great guy, and I'm sure you listen to him on the broadcast, and it comes off that way. But it could be just a really tough life if you don't work for a good person. So for us, we recruited the DMV really hard, and in mostly Mid-Atlantic areas. So they didn't quite at that time. They didn't quite put the money into the programs that they do now. So coaches, they didn't have the same recruiting budget. Right. It all really depends, Mark, what you put into it. You could go after good programs, good people, the kind of kids you want to be with all the time. And some people take shortcuts to try and go for that great player, but sometimes with that great player, there's extra stuff with it. We were fortunate enough that we had some, dual swords. We had good fortune and tough fortune that we had to recruit a certain student athlete. All right. I say good fortune because you got to deal with good families, good kids, good coaches, good programs, all of that. Bad fortune is some of the teams we played against got to recruit the kids we could not recruit, and they had some pretty good players on their teams too. So it was it's a salesman's lifestyle. You're on the go. Your whole identity is attracting 16, 17, 18-year-old boys to your school, selling them on the academic education of American U, and basketball as being a part of that. And a lot of kids, they're about ball, and they want to play in the biggest arena with the biggest fans and play the national schedule. So it's you have to sell what you have. And so it was fun. It was a great learning experience. But it's a tough job for a family.
What percentage of that job would you say is recruiting versus basketball coaching or other?
Man, Mark, it all depends on your coach, right? All depends on your coach. But for me, I would say it was well over 50. I would say 60, 70% it was getting players and certainly helping in practice. But it's not that hard of a game, and the head coach is be able to coach it. It's just you got to have good players. So I would say 60, 70% of it was getting players.
Any good recruiting stories, guys that you landed or went after, or weren't able to get? Any interesting stories on the recruiting front?
This is being taped, right?
This is.
All right. No good stories at all, man. No good stories. Well, I will say this. Thomas Treadwell, we went to good counsel and going to Allegheny, and Thomas was getting recruited by everyone but wanted to come home. And so we were able to have Thomas play for us. He was like the Draymond Green before Draymond Green knew he was Draymond Green. He was just a tough DC kid who would take on all comers and play out of position and just can ball. Went overseas for a couple of years. And it was good to see those kids Thomas in particular, go away and then come back and have success. Right. And what even adds to the story is that Thomas finished his eligibility and played overseas, didn't graduate, started working, and all of a sudden, 20-something years later, he goes back to American U. He's already a parent. He's working on the grind. AU has a program to help him out. He gets his degree. Me, Thomas, Knock, we all go out and celebrate. Couldn't be prouder of Thomas Treadwell, but like he was just an awesome guy to coach, and he took care of business. And I'll play stories like that. Guys who overachieved, who the recruiting websites didn't have them as good players, but they just just figured their game out, figured it out, and become pretty good. Yeah.
I think it's fair to say the game's evolved a little bit, and transferring intercollegiately is much bigger now than it was then. It happened then, for sure, but I think now, I mean, collegiate transfers are at an all-time high. Was your recruiting part of your kind of recruiting detail, not only going after high school kids, but other college kids, like you just mentioned?
Well, Thomas was a junior college transfer.
Okay.
But we did get a young fellow, Christian Ast, who played at High Point. Christian Ast went to High Point, played for Ernie Welch. He was a German transfer. Somehow I know they got that done. And he went to Duke and was on some of those national championship teams with Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill, Christian Leitner, right? But he wanted to play. So here he is, a German kid, international affairs, American U is the perfect spot. Right. So he transferred. So I wouldn't say it was any lobbying behind the scenes looking for it, but it clearly happened.
Right.
Whereas now it's almost expected, and you have the graduate transfer in addition to the regular transfer. And guys almost have a recruiting strategy of recruiting a guy, not so much for getting him when he leaves high school to college, but after he goes to college and he's looking for his second bounce, almost anticipating that play. Yeah, and then with the AAU coaches being involved, they have a relationship with the kids all the time. They're just guys who are always planting the seed. I would say that happens a lot.
So how about prior to American?
I'm sorry?
Prior to American.
Prior to American, I was with Coach Dick Myers at Gonzaga High School.
Okay.
Yeah, 1990 to 1986 to 1990. All right. Coach Myers had just had his first great team. Mark Tillman, Perry Carter on those teams. Mark went to to Georgetown, and then Perry went to Ohio State. Many other Division I players. On our team, we weren't quite as good early, but we got good later. Robert Churchwell, who went to Georgetown, Lamont Morgan, David Creedle, who's coached in the area, went to Loyola. Ronald Horton went to Davidson. So we had some good teams, good players. And DeMatha was really good. That was Morgan Wooten was at DeMatha at the time. Joe Gallagher was at St. John's at the time. It was Washington Catholic League. I mean, it was a great introduction as a young coach to some high-level ball and high-level coaches. And Mark, the other thing too for me, here I am, young fellow loving the game, getting to go to scout. And I went to see Morgan Wooten's team played maybe 8 times in the season. Joe Gallagher 7. It's just you learn from watching these men do their craft. It was a great way to start a coaching career.
How did you get that job at Gonzaga?
All right. My college coach was a man named Jack Broom. Jack Broom was a legendary figure in D.C.
Where'd you go to college?
Catholic U.
Okay.
Catholic U here in town. So Jack Broom was a legendary figure because he coached with Morgan Wood and DeMatha, but more importantly, he was a bartender, and everybody loved going to see Coach Bruin at the bar. He was from New York City, played at Power Memorial back in those days, and so he just had that way, like a bartender, knowing how to make everybody's night good, and same way as a player, just loved playing for him. Coach Bruin played at Catholic U. When Coach Bruin was there, Dick Myers was the head coach. Dick Myers leaves, and now the head coach of Gonzaga. I come out, got a girlfriend at the time, now my beautiful bride, and I wanted to come back and be closer to her. Coach Bruin called Coach Myers, said, Dick, I got a guy for you who's going to put the effort in. And that was the extent of the interview process right there. Coach Myers says, Jack recommended you, you're in. So that was it. And I taught at a little school named Holy Names School. It's right next to Gallaudet on New York Avenue and in Florida Avenue and 12th Street, I think it is. That part's escaped me, but it's right on the campus of Gallaudet. Finished there, then right over to Gonzaga and went to practice. That's how I started. And then that just opened a whole new world of knowing everybody and working 5-star camps with Howard Garfinkel during the summertime. Just what AAU basketball is now for coaching opportunities for guys, 5-star was the show back then.
Yeah.
All right. If you ever watched that 30 for 30 special with Calipari, and he has that reference in 5-star days and some of those pictures, some of those great players. I mean, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was he's about my age, but he came back and spoke. But Vince Carter, Jerry Stackhouse, Kevin Garnett, Stephen Marbury, they coached those guys. They were all, or coached against them. One of the two. It was fascinating. On outdoor converted tennis court, you could not ever find a modern day kid to go outside and play on a tennis court. But that wasn't happening. But now, at those times, those were the best players in America, and they were showing their craft on an outdoor court in Pittsburgh.
How many kids would go to 5-star camp?
Oh man, Marky. It seemed like 500. It seemed like 500. I don't know. If I'm wrong,
this is like an invite only type thing.
Nah, that's the salesman part of the camp. They were some who were invited, but they had to pay the bills, right? Yeah, and you know how that is.
Of course.
Invitation only. You got money? Come on. All right. So but the top players were invited.
Yeah.
Me, if I was going, I would have to pay. You had to pay double. Yeah.
So, tell me. We'll get back to your your trajectory as a coach. But I'm intrigued by the whole 5-star thing. I've had multiple coaches bring it up, and I know a lot of the people who are watching this are younger and have kind of heard the lore of 5-star. But I'm curious to get a little more detail on just how the whole thing worked. You were
sure. So here it is. So back at that time, Howard Garfinkel just passed away. Yep. New York City, character amongst characters. He had this great idea about having a prospect camp, and he would get college coaches to work the camp. The college coaches were incentivized to work the camp because they could be closer to the best players in the game. Howard Garfinkel would also invite the top players on the East Coast, their coaches, to bring their players. He wouldn't pay them much, but those coaches wanted to work with the college coaches, so they wanted to get in the job. So and the players wanted to go because that was where you were seen, because there was no AAU at that time. So everybody's going there to work for Garf because of their personal interests, and he's the guy, and he knows all the coaches, and he's helping place players. So all of this is going on at the same place. Coaches are getting better, kids are getting better, because coaches really wanted to impress Garf. They really wanted to impress the college coaches, which were there scouting. They wanted to impress the players that they knew what they were doing. So we had maybe 4 sets of stations per day, games, and you worked really hard, coached, refereed, and you went out and socialized that night. Alarm went off, and you went and did it again.
And how many Bruce Kelleys are there? How many?
Oh man, there is
hundreds.
Hundreds. Well, hundreds are great, but 75 to 100 coaches. And Bob McKillop from Davidson, he was my roommate, 5-star. John Calipari was a hall monitor when he first started out. Dave Odom. Some of these guys are a little bit older, but there's still numerous college coaches. Sean Miller was a player. Danny Hurley was a player. Bobby Hurley was a player coming through, and they cut their teeth on 5-star. So even though it's been out of its heyday since, maybe 97, 95, somewhere in there, out of its heyday, but there's still a legacy of 5-star guys. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was
very fascinating.
Yes. In a little window of time, it was amazing how many people I met and saw and learned from, coached with.
And how many years was 5-star kind of at this level?
At its zenith. Oh boy, we'd have to look that one up, but I would say from a good 15, 20, 25 years, like maybe 70 to 95, somewhere in there. Yeah. Anybody who was somebody, especially in the East Coast, you went to 5-star.
Yeah, was there something similar to this on the West Coast or elsewhere in the country?
I think they tried to create it, right? Like the Pump Brothers or somebody tried to create it, but it's just different because you have all these big cities who are kind of close to each other. And that time you didn't see them. It's not like you go on the AAU circuit and you see each other at these tournaments. You hear about this legendary guy from Malden, South Carolina, Garnett, right? You hear about him, and all of a sudden, all right, he's the real deal. That's where I first saw LeBron James when he was a sophomore. He was invited for this sophomore camp out in Pittsburgh. and he immediately got moved up from the sophomore camp all the way to the NBA, and he was the buzz of the town. Everybody knew, like, holy buckets, that guy's different. So yeah, so everybody was somebody. That's where you made your name. Yeah.
Awesome.
Tracy McGrady. Oh yes, anyone from that era. That book about the guys who went straight from high school. They don't call them maybe boys to men, boys among men. Maybe might have been the book, but every single player in that book who went to the NBA, Kobe, went to 5-star. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great story. All right, so prior to Gonzaga.
Oh man, I was high school player. College player at Capitol.
Okay.
Yeah. Good player, Division III player. I loved the game when the game loved me as a player. But it was like friends for life. Loved it. But I was an average at best player.
What position?
Would have been a power forward, all 6'2", 180 pounds of it. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Times are different.
Playing down on the block.
Got to, man. Low man wins, Mark. Low man wins. Yes.
And prior to college, where'd you play your high school ball?
Miami Curley High School. That's where the Catholic school, and it is now closed in what is known as the Little Haiti section of Miami.
Okay.
Yes.
And you grew up in South Florida?
In Magic City, yes, sir. Yes,
And what was that like?
It was a fascinating town. It was before the Mariel boat lift, but it was just a conglomeration of culture and languages and people, and it was just like no other city that you've lived in. It was warm all the time, so you were just a lot of beautiful people, and you just a lot of different ways of living and looking at life, a lot of different cultures. It was fun. Great place to grow up. Great place.
Did you think that you were going to be live in Florida your whole life, or did you have aspirations to get out of there?
My whole plan was go back to Miami and get into the international banking industry, because I could speak a little bit of passable Spanish, but I figured I would get better when I was down there.
Yeah.
And then life changed, little switch. I started volunteering at my own high school and just, hey, this is fun. I like these kids. I like connecting with kids. And here I am, 30-something years later. Blink, and here I am now. Yeah.
When did coaching become something that you thought perhaps you could pursue a career in?
Quite honestly, with Jack Bruin as my senior year in college, not knowing what to do, and just saw him, how he impacted my life and how much fun he had doing it. It's just a combination of, I get to stay in the game, get paid a little bit, make a living, right? And impact people's lives and have a good time along the way. Sign me up for this one. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah.
All right, Coach. So that's a great background on yourself.
Thank you. We went long. We went deep on the background. Yes.
We did indeed. But I think now it's time to talk about Bullis basketball.
Let's do it.
You've been a coach here for, this will be your 14th season, 13th season.
This will be 15th.
15th season. All right. So you got 14 under your belt. You guys have had a lot of success.
Yeah.
Turned out a lot of big time players. I know expectations are high here. You guys have an amazing facility. You're an amazing conference.
Yeah.
But walk me through kind of your career as the Bullis coach, starting at the beginning, and then we'll kind of end at current day.
All right. So 2004.
You remember how you got the job? Do you remember
Yeah, we're going to go through that whole thing, right?
Let's do it.
2004, February of 2004, my Prospect Hall team is playing at the Sleepy Thompson tournament, St. Stephen's tournament. They used to have it at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And word got out that Michael had resigned. Michael Hibbs, who had a really, I think might have been 13-year run, had really turned Bullis into almost not even on the map to being a major player on the map. And so that was, most everybody think, hey, that's a pretty good job. You great school, you got a camp. For me, it really resonated because I have family who lives not too far away, and I'm living in Frederick. And Prospect Hall was awesome, but there was a lot of the facilities, the school itself is just, there's more to it.
Right.
And
right.
So it's myself. Am I allowed to name other coaches going for this? Or I think Chucky Drizel was up there. And this kid named Chris Patrick, who played at Sidwell Friends, and our headmaster at the time was from Sidwell Friends. And Chris Patrick was coaching over in Germany. So it was and there was one other person I can't think of. And then it was a pretty long, drawn-out process. Brought us down, toured the school. You have to do the background check, and I was fortunate enough to get the job. So when I get the job, some of the guys are not sure that they want to come back because they were really loyal to Michael.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they did stay. Was able to bring a big boy with me from St. John's, a kid named Sam Sense, real tough kid. He's now a cop in Northern Virginia. But that's the perfect guy to bring with you. Had my back and played for me.
Yeah.
So that first year, we had some struggles, but we ended up winning the IAC and had a great road win at Episcopal High School, and it's just a hostile environment. Just we just had our 10. One of these pictures up here is a 10-year reunion, and those guys still talk about that. So that was a great start off. And then we're good. We win a little bit, and we have some normal years. And then 2012. Little guard named Anthony Thompson, who ended up going to Holy Cross.
Aaron
Thompson's older brother. Yeah. And Anthony, all coaches have these stories that they love the guys that beats the expectations. So Anthony just turned out to be way better than anybody thought, because the Catholic League recruiting had really kicked up by this time, 2012. Yeah. And Anthony had a chance to have a platform, and he taught us how to win. And we went on a nice run. Went on tournaments out of town and handled ourselves well there. And it's been good here lately. And now it's at this point where we're just like other independent schools that kids are figuring out they don't have to go to the Catholic League to get a college scholarship and play high level basketball.
Right.
I think this year ISC I know we have one. Prep has 3. Episcopal 1, so that's 5. St. Albans 1, that's 6. I know we have 6 Division I players in the league. Pretty good, 16 league. But you asked about Bullis. We've had a lot of kids who care, and our guys come back, and the alumni play pickup ball all during the fall and during the summer with our players, and it's great. They sort of have a vested interest in the well-being of the program, and they teach young guys how to play hard, and the young guys want to kick their butt because they don't want to hear them talking about them. So it's good. It's almost like a Bullis family, so to speak, and it's being able to stretch out for over a number of years. And we got a good thing going, so we're going to try and keep it up.
Tell me about the system that kind of determines who wins the championship in your league.
All right. Currently, it is the regular season winner gets a banner, and the tournament winner gets a banner. That's it. It's just there's no.
It
used
changed?
to be some. Yeah, it has. It was a convoluted system. It's just not worth your listeners even spending time to. But now it's much like I think the MAC has the same policy. You could have one winner or you could have 2. Right. Okay. So like last year, ourselves and Georgetown Prep tied for the regular season. Okay. We won the tiebreaker, so we hosted. We won the tournament, so we call ourselves champions. In theory, they're champions as well, because they could have it up. And when you go to their place, they'll probably have it up that they were regular season co-champs.
Yeah. So in your 15 years, 15, right?
15th.
How many league championships, regular season and postseason do you have?
I have to do it this way: 5, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 7. 7 regular season and 5 tournament. 5 tournament
postseason.
Yeah.
And give me some of like your top memories. I know you mentioned Thompson a minute ago. I mean, we'll go through some of the top players you coached, but
sure.
In terms of some of those championship teams, were there certain teams or certain, like any buzzer beaters in championship games, any distinct memories throughout those championship runs?
All of them, but we'll go give a couple stories. Certainly coaching my son in 2014, and we beat Episcopal in the tournament here, and Fitz takes his guys out a little bit early, and we're able to sub the seniors out. And they're on the floor, we're all 5 seniors, and I had known these guys for a while.
Yeah.
And my guy BK was one of them. And so put yourself in my shoes. You're the coach of the team, it's packed house, you're winning a championship, and your son's coming off the floor, and you get to give him a hug right there to celebrate that victory. That one will always, I'm puffing up now even thinking about now. That was awesome. Another one stands out is the 2010. We were the 5th seed going into it, just a hard luck team. We just never seemed to win, right? We were in games, never seemed to win. And then it was like 4 days in February. It was a weird thing because of snow, so we had to play at St. Stephen's on a Saturday night, beat them in the last seconds of the game. So now we were the 5 seed playing at St. Stephen's. They were the 4. Big win for us. We're excited. Come back, play Monday at Georgetown Prep, and they have Markel Starks. I was going to say Fultz, but Markel Starks. And they were the number 1 seed, and they were really good. Markel was a dominant player. But we get off early, and they come back, and they have a shot at the buzzer, and all year long, teams had made that shot against us. We just, uncanny number of close games, but they missed that shot that game. So now here we are, Bulldogs in the championship game. And just through a fluke of scheduling, the ISC used to do like a rotating host.
Right.
And that year it was our turn to host. And so Landon, who was really good with Joe McDonald, Darren Atkins, Danny Rubin, they had some other good players on that team who were more football players. And there's a kid who went to Division III school, Hudnut, who was a really tough kid too. So here comes Landon, the 2nd seed in the league, and they're coming to us, who's the 5 seed in the league. Kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
So it's our home game. Place was packed. The place was absolutely packed. They were in orange. I forget what we were in.
I think I was at that game.
Might have been. And then Capitol Hoops might have been one of your first times out, right? This was 2010. And there's all sorts of footage on that.
Yeah.
And same deal. We're in there. And we go up 1. Miss a free throw. Now they're coming down for the win. And same deal. All year long, the other team made that shot. They miss it, mob the floor. It was just a great night. That was a great night. So here was this team that had no luck, and all of a sudden got lucky. It always talks about merging the two.
Yeah.
It would be kind of
What are your thoughts on that league? There's a lot of parallels. I think it's
sure
safe
is.
to say.
Well, there's some really good. The MAC coaches really worked hard. They've got some good players.
Yeah.
I think basketball we would do it in a heartbeat. Right? It would be fun.
Yeah.
What holds up?
Is there real discussion about some type of merger?
Yeah,
or?
something. Football's the driver. Football's always the driver. The parity.
Yeah.
Like not everybody is ready to play on a big boy level.
Yeah.
So that disrupts things. But who knows? You get folks involved in a room, and everybody's sort of looking out for their best interest as opposed to the well-being of all. So who knows what's going to happen? But as basketball coaches, it would be so much fun to go into a bigger league. Yeah.
You guys host a Christmas tournament every year?
Really good tournament.
Yeah, very good. Talk to me about that tournament.
A guy named Glenn Hunter, who is now still a history teacher at Bullis, started the Bullis holiday tournament back in the early 80s. So it's going on consecutively since maybe 1981.
Okay.
We really try to get a lot of Mid-Atlantic teams in ours. So it's us and Episcopal from our league, good counsel be in it. Civil French was in it last year. The Pilati from the Baltimore League.
Yeah.
The team that everybody's going to be talking about is Westtown with the kid Reddick, who I've had some NBA scouts tell me he's the number one guy in the team. Kid Reddish, Reddish, number one player in that class. Yeah. So I'm sure all the Dookie fans will come out to see him. So it's good. We haven't won it for a while. Matter of fact, I've never won it, but I know, and we've got good teams. But I'd much rather have really good teams and have that atmosphere.
How many teams participate?
8. So it's 8 teams. Everybody's guaranteed 3 games. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Buy your tickets, folks.
In your 15 years, you've never won it?
Come on, man. Are you trying to hurt me or what? I just never won it.
It's surprising.
It is. But I'm man enough to say it's true. All right, it's true. It's true. Maybe one of these years, before I retire, about 15 years from now, I'll schedule some patsies so I can at least get it one time. Right?
How do you go about scheduling teams to participate?
A lot of friends make calls. We'll call different scouts, like a guy named Norm Evanson, who does a fantastic job scouting, particularly out of the Philadelphia area. And we'll usually invite one out-of-town team,
Oh,
to
that's
come
it.
in.
So
Yeah.
7 local teams.
Try to do 7 locals.
Okay.
Mercersburg is local enough that they'll come down on their own, and their coaches got a much better program.
Right.
Church will bring his team up from Benedictine from time to time.
Yeah.
So just one of the benefits of being around for a while, you know people,
Yeah.
and just like to have your friends. And some years, some friends think they're good, and some years friends don't want to be part of it. So you just got to call and make the rounds and do it that way. And there's no committee. It's a committee of one. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about your roster.
Yes, sir.
currently.
Yes, sir.
You guys have a big boy on your team. Tell me about the story of how
Sure.
he got here.
Otaro Matari is Dikembe Mutombo's nephew. Dikembe works for NBA, Basketball Without Borders, saw this big 7'5" kid, finds out he's from the Congo. After talking a little bit longer, finds out that he is related. Like, he might have been a second cousin, something like that. And he wants to give him a better opportunity. So Dikembe Mutombo calls. Says,
How
Bruce,
long ago is this?
this was, we are in this fall of 2017, right?
Yeah.
So this would have been August 2016. Then he
Oh.
calls me.
So
All
this
right?
is like
Last year.
15 months ago.
15
right?
months ago,
Okay.
right? So he says, Bruce, I've got my foundation.
Who calls you?
Dikembe.
You
Dikembe.
know him.
No. Well, I met him once because his niece had gone to school here before. But
So why did he call you?
Because I'm the coach.
But I'm saying, why Bullis?
His niece was a freshman here, Malu Mutombo, who's now at St. John's.
Okay.
But that time, his niece was a freshman in Bullis. He came to visit her. He made the rounds. If you ever met Dikembe, everybody's a friend. And so he really liked the school and thought it'd be a nice protective atmosphere
Gotcha.
for Watara. And he made several other phone calls too, but Bullis was one of the phone calls.
Gotcha. Okay, so he calls you?
Calls you up and says, so put yourself in my shoes. Dikembe calls. He's got his foundation, which is going to take care of things. He's got his brother who lives close by. So I don't have to do any work. There's no placing him. None of those things that we all get these phone calls for.
Right.
So okay, all right. The kid does well enough, and he's with his English, and so our headmaster, Dr. Borman, says, all right, we're going to give this kid a chance. He has done just miraculously in the school. Everybody loves him. He's going to be an ambassador or some person of doing goodwill in this world. If you meet him, you would truly, truly like him. Unfortunately, basketball-wise, his body hasn't cooperated. So he's just got a lot of pains and aches and ailments, and he's just a big boy who hasn't had modern medical care. And so he has not been able to run as much on the court as much as we like. But
And what year is he?
he's a senior.
He's a senior this year.
But he's grown up so much, and you just can't help but to smile when you see him.
And he'll be on the basketball team.
Yeah,
this
he'll
year.
be on team. Now, hopefully he'll practice today. Hopefully. Has not practiced yet. but
And
hopefully
what
practice.
what type of physical ailments
Oh, Mark, you name it. You name
Really?
it. Hips, feet, ankle, knees, kidney, just
wow.
you name it. I'm getting well versed with the human anatomy these days. Yes. The large human anatomy. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit. I mean, you've gotten to know him pretty well.
Yeah.
Tell me about his family. Does he come from a family of all 7-footers?
He's the biggest. He's
Okay.
the biggest. I'm sorry. He is the biggest, but his family is tall. He is tall. He's got a little brother who's bigger than most people, but it's when we first saw the picture, I mean, the Dikembe was 7'1", and Watara, it's like this big of a difference.
Yeah.
I remember we took a picture in front of the Bullis Athletic Center, and I was in the middle, and it looked like a W. It was so funny. But all that's being said, just the sweetest kid of all time. Just.
Do you think you can somehow cultivate this relationship so that you can maybe go after players in that region who? Is that something that's crossed your mind, that you have this connection and Mutombo maybe wants to bring more players over here, and you've got an amazing school, an amazing facility, and you can somehow, help this process come along?
The coach in me obviously has let my mind go there, but the parent and the adult in me says, take care of this kid, and that stuff works itself out. So. Yeah, we just got to make sure it all works for Watara. It's not easy, English is his second language. He stands out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a quote unquote normal life. It's not for everyone. So I have let my mind go there for sure, but I snap myself back out. We just, hey, let's take care of the big boy, and that's most important.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of transfers, Nenda Tark.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
New guy here.
Nenda came to Bullis from Gaithersburg.
Yep.
Nenda sat out his sophomore year, and so he'll be a junior this year. Because in our agreement with the Maryland Public School Association is that you can only play 4 years, right? So even though it's going to be 5 years in school for Nenda, he can only play 4. It's different than the Virginia schools. They do the reclassification, and they're not worried about the number of years that you play. It's just more years on the varsity. Okay, so that's the difference. Ourselves, land and prep, kids can't play 5 years of ball on any level. Right, so but Nenda's been fantastic. Nenda's taken the hard road because he had a lot of adjustments to do scholastically, just doing things right. It's a major difference when going to an independent school than you going to many public schools. And so he had a rough transition. There were times, I'm not going to lie to you, there were times that we wondered, man, is this going to work? Interestingly enough, that he had an epiphany, and the epiphany was that he got a scholarship offer from a Division I school, and he sort of realized, like, oh, this can work. This is going to happen, and so he's been fantastic this year, doing well in school, doing what he's supposed to do, and he's still working on his game. You know, there'll be moments of just you just your jaw drops. He'll make plays, and then the other parts that he'll have a lapse. But he should be a very good player for us.
Yeah, great kid. I've followed his brother for many years, Anthony, and both left-handed kids and both just great guys.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to seeing what he has to offer.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
Tell me a little bit more about the rest of your roster this year.
Sure. Well, I'm surprised we didn't leave this whole thing off with the most accomplished player we have.
Course,
right? Yeah. So Fervado Morse, the pride of Washington Jesuit Academy. He's another guy who came. When he played at Washington Jesuit for Howard Blue, they had great players. Our man Prentice, who Gonzaga was going to Notre Dame. Jared Bynum, who's a fellow ISC player. DeMarco, who was at O'Connell for a while, but certainly going to be a Division I player. And Votto was more of an afterthought. And Votto's first couple of years here, we had guard issues. And Alex Leader broke his hand. Right. And then Jamal Wright transferred Jamal's senior year. So Votto got a chance to play varsity at an earlier age than we anticipated. And I'd love to tell you we taught him this, but he just has a knack to score. And what I love about the little fella is that he's going to show up game day. Whoever we're playing, he's coming. He's going to bring it. And he just loves to compete, loves to play ball. So and Votto's going to go to Mount St. Mary's. So he's all player of the year in our league, first team all league player coming back. Counting on him to be really, really good for us. All right, and he's worked hard in this fall too in the weight room with Darren McClinton on his skills. So it's been good. It's been good counting on him. Then the other players, another all-league player from a year ago named Lincoln Yider. Lincoln's had a little bit of hip issues now, but hopefully we'll get him back sometime soon. But he's just a rock. He and Votto together, it just makes coaching a little easier. Those guys they complement each other really well, and Lincoln can do most anything on the court. And people ask, "Oh, what does he do? What does he do?" He wins, right? Your team, you got a chance to win. You got Lincoln out there. So that's our our senior backcourt. So you feel if you have good backcourt, you got a chance in most high school games. Yeah. Especially I think Lincoln will get some sort of offer at some point during the season. It hasn't had it yet. Lots of I got ideas about why that's happening, but I think it's going to work for them. And so then we've got numerous juniors who were on the team last year. C.J. Anselm should be a good player. Started a lot and played a lot of minutes. Philip Smith, who had just an amazing championship game, went on a little Phil Smith 12-0 run. And he played for Mid-Atlantic Selector in the offseason and had some nice Coach is interested in him.
Yeah.
2 guards who got hurt and missed their entire sophomore years. A kid named Colin Lewis and Josiah Matthews. Kind of rare. The 2 of them missed the entire year. Who are going to give us a lot of oomph, and we're going to play. We'll be small, Mark. We're going to be small, but we got a toughness about us that I think it'll be a fun team to coach, because we'll be able to, I think, be in most games because of our ability to score. Now we've got to defend and rebound.
Make sure you keep attacking, all right? Now, we can't keep gambling on defense. That's giving it up, right? We need all 5 rebounders.
Let's go, finish it out.
Come on, let's go, boys. Dogs on 3. 1, 2.
Especially covering kids who are bigger than us. That's going to be a big issue for us.
Let's talk real quick about recruiting
Sure.
in this league. I know that's a pretty integral part of your job.
Got to.
But tell me kind of your philosophies on recruiting, how you like. How does Votto end up here? How does Tark end up here?
All right, so IC rules are we're not allowed to make first contact, right? So I can't just go to a gym on Saturday and say, who do I see, right?
You can go and watch a game,
I
right?
can go watch a game if there's a Bullis kid in the game. I can go to a game if there is someone who has expressed interest in Bullis. I can't just go blind.
Oh, you can't just go and watch and not make contact, just as like a fan per se. Really?
It's interesting. That's sort of. My interpretation is that unless there's someone who is engaged in the academic admissions process, then I'm not supposed to be there. That's my interpretation, right? So how do we do it? Obviously, we have players, so we're doing something, right? So a lot of it is those same sort of years of contacts, years of friendships, years of people who I know, and we'll recommend somebody or former players. Say, hey, I got a cousin who's got a guy. Just take a look, and then what we'll do is politely ask, say, look, I can't make first contact. Have that family call me. Now we've started that chain.
Right.
Then I'm allowed to do it. But a lot of us, for us, are referrals, people who I trust recommend kids, because you want it to be a good experience for both sides. Parents are putting a lot of time and effort and money into their child's basketball career and their academic career. So you don't want to go out and get all these guys because all of a sudden they're not happy and no one's having fun. So what we try to do is try not to make mistakes on the guys we get. We might miss on the ability of someone. Someone might turn out to be a much better basketball player than I ever would have imagined, right? But where we can't make a mistake is on person's character, person's willingness to want to be here. Like you just can't, you have a bad day at school, you can't look for your car keys, right? You gotta tough it out. And part of that is actually wanting to be here in the first place. I'm not sure how others do it, but I feel good about that process. I sleep well. I don't feel like we are going out and selling our souls for that. It's more of we're in this together. And even when the parents come and the children come, I'm still the head coach. I've got to give bad news every once in a while, right? And so part of that is, look, we're together. I am not promising you or anyone else things. You know how we do. We're having great adult conversations here on the best interest of your child. We might disagree, but you'll never disagree that I am or Bullis is being harmful or being duplicitous in our views.
So, just talk to me about your like your recruiting pitch.
Sure.
You have a player that you're interested in. You talk about your history, you talk about the facilities here, you talk about the conference you're in, the schedule you play, your ability to get them to the next level. I mean, like, what are the kind of main points when a player's made first contact with you,
right,
and now you're trying to zero in and get them on campus?
It's not that deep. It's not that deep. We usually encourage them to do their own research. Usually we'll ask, do you know anybody at Bullis? Do you know anybody who's ever gone to Bullis? Ask those parents, those families about their experience, because I'm supposed to tell you everything that's good about the place. Get the true experience from your friend. Certainly have them come over to a game or a workout or something along those lines. I try not to pitch the basketball as much, try to pitch the whole school. Just saying that you're going to get a great education. You're going to meet a lot of good people. This is a school that's hot right now. Our Dr. Borman, our headmaster, put up this brand new building. It's unbelievable. You got to go see it. The Discovery Center. It is just state of the art. Yeah. Good things are happening here, and they don't need me to tell them that. I mean, these are people who should be coming to this whole process with their eyes wide open. Because really, Mark, every independent school's got good coaches, good programs, good players going places. They all got it, right? And
so how do you differentiate? And
that,
there's Catholic schools. There's so many schools recruiting these kids. So at the end of the day,
what makes us special,
right?
And I think it comes down to you trust the person who's going to be coaching your child.
Yeah.
And some will, some won't. And the ones who don't, that's fine. We'll still be friends. We'll hug when we see each other. We don't have to enter into the relationship. But the ones who do, we work really hard for that's a long-term relationship. That's just not 4 years. That's come back and play the pickup games. Try to make calls to help them get jobs. Come back for reunions. It's forever. It's not. Once you're in the blue and gold, you're always in the blue and gold. So it's not. You got to want that. I guess that's it. I mean, we kind of tell them who we are, and if you like that, we're in. If not, hey, that's fantastic. We're good, and no harm lost either way.
You've established yourself here in the DMV as one of the better coaches, I think it's fair to say.
I like that.
Where do you see yourself? Do you see your basketball career ending here at Bullis? Do you have aspirations to go back to the collegiate level? Where are you at with all that?
I love Bullis. It's a great place, and everyone you watch TV and say, "Hey man, that would be fun. That would be fun." But I think I'm where I need to be, helping younger boys figure a turbulent time in their lives out and help them become men. Love the fact when seeing guys go away and come back and seeing the growth and maturity in them helping others. I think I can do more in my life here than going to be a college coach. So I think I'm here to stay. I mean, my choice would be here to stay. Obviously, it's a good place, and I feel like I can make a difference in people's lives here. That's it.
Tell us what you do aside from coaching basketball here at Bullis.
I'm a middle school. I was a middle school math teacher.
Okay.
But our headmaster, Dr. Borman, he's a visionary. And a couple of years ago, he pulled me aside and said, "Bruce, we've got some kids who are having some math issues, and I don't like the fact that they have to go to a higher math tutor. I want to hire somebody who knows our kids, knows our students, knows our faculty, that kids can feel comfortable going to see for math help." And I've been doing that for the last 2 years. I help everywhere from calculus down. It's been fantastic. I get to go in classrooms and see our wonderful teachers teach and help kids get through little troubles in their time. Some of them come a lot. Some of them just come from little quick fix tune-ups. But I get to be the good guy. I get to help kids all day long. Mark, I just couldn't think of a better job for me.
How beneficial is it as the basketball coach that you get to interact with some of these kids outside of like a basketball setting per se?
For me, it's crucial.
Yeah.
Okay? Because as the coach, you have to do some behavior modifications, right? And so there could be a chance that young Johnny or young Mark had a rough day on Tuesday, right? So me, as the adult who's had kids, know that that's not good to let that fester for a long period of time. So able to maybe catch Johnny or Mark during the next day in a non-basketball situation, away from the stress, touch him, hug him, talk about something different, let him know that I'm still the same guy who cares about him. We just had a difference of opinion on something the day before. So for me, I think it's as you coach the whole person, right? And just letting him know that I value him more than just a player that next day. All right, yeah, okay, yeah, coach is all right. I still don't like what he did, but I don't like what he said. I disagree with him, but he's still okay. So now we go to, by the time we get to practice, all that stuff is beyond, and we move on.
Coach, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for letting us in here. The last thing I want to do, I want to ask you a question that I've asked every coach throughout this series.
All right, Ben.
If there was a pickup basketball game today with every coach in the DMV, who would your first pick be as a player?
Well, I'm covering Steve Turner, all right? I'm covering Stevie Turner. I go, who's on my team? And we're playing 3-on-3?
Not what? 5-on-5.
5-on-5.
gotta
I'm
pick
an older
just one
guy, man.
player.
I'm older guy. I'm picking Dan Harwood. That's my guy.
Dan
Because if I'm
Harwood.
hoping he's going to give me the ball, all right? I know that. Dan Harwood's my guy.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you. If there's
But I'm
anything,
covering Turner. That's who I got.
if there's anything else that you feel compelled to say, the floor is yours for a quick second.
Well, thank you. That was a lot of fun for me, walking down memory lane, particularly some of that 5-star stuff, and being able a chance to talk about the boys here at Bullis. And just want to thank Capitol Hoops, because we're lucky. Obviously, DC area is a hotbed for college, high school, pro basketball, and kids love it. Kids love checking out what everybody's doing. You guys do a great service, and just thank you for including Bullis.
Coach Kelley, thanks very much. We look forward to what you guys have on tap this coming season.
Thank you.